Hey, welcome back. Well, the Federal Reserve meets next week to decide if it will cut interest rates again. And this decision will be more difficult than in recent months. It's because the most up-to-date official jobs data the Fed will have to work with only goes through September because of the government shutdown. So there won't be an October report, and November's numbers won't be available until after the Fed votes. This lack of information could factor into the Fed's next moves, and it is the story we are diving into in this Money Matters segment, brought to you by J.P. Morgan Wealth Management. Joining us now, Sandra Swirski, founder and CEO of Integer, an economic advocacy firm. Sandra, good morning. It's great to have you here with us. So we'll dive right in, to this new data. We have a representative with ADP saying it's small businesses weathering this uncertain environment, cautious consumer environment, calling them, the businesses, a canary in the coal mine. So while their data doesn't provide a full picture, of course, what do you see as the impacts here as we look ahead to this report?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Kelly. So I think you noted something very important, which is that we don't have any official data around jobs numbers for the reasons you stated. But that doesn't mean that we don't have any information. I think the Fed's going to rely on reports like the ADP report. Economists initially thought that we were going to have a job surge in November, and the ADP numbers show that, quite contrary, we had job losses in November. And I think that is going to somewhat impact the Fed. Not official numbers, but obviously a good survey of businesses, particularly small businesses across the U.S.
Right. And what are the impacts of this data lapse? Where else are they looking specifically for some economic, footing where they can make this decision? Because this decision is set to come really in just days now.
Yeah. So I think something else that they may look to is the strong numbers from the last weekend's holiday shopping, right? You would expect that if the economy was becoming softer, consumers were getting a little bit nervous, that the holiday shopping season that kicked off with Black Friday, we would have seen some pullback. Quite the opposite. The National Retail Federation said that we had record numbers of shoppers over the weekend into Monday, and the shopping season could top $1 trillion in sales. So that suggests that the economy isn't necessarily softening. While the jobs numbers don't look great for November, it doesn't seem to be translating into consumer habits.
Understood. So, obviously labor market concerns are a big part of the reason the Fed is expected to cut interest rates at its meeting next week. But it may not be enough to convince the holdouts here. What do you see as the odds of another cut on the horizon now?
I think I'm going to go with what Wall Street is saying. There's about a 90% chance, and that number has been eking up over the past couple of days. Started out about 75%, but now it's close to 90%. And I think that part of that is the strong showing in the holiday shopping season.
Understood. And if they do, in fact, lower the rate again, what implications will that have for the American people? What are the major benefits? Also, some of the concerns about making that call.
Yeah, so that's where the rubber meets the road, right? What does this really mean for consumers? If the Fed does make a rate cut, it means things for businesses as well as for consumers. It means that borrowing is going to be cheaper. So at some point, if the Fed does lower interest rates, over time, that's going to mean lower mortgage interest rates, lower auto financing rates for businesses. It's going to mean a lower cost of capital for their build outs, for buying more inventory, for their research and development. So it's going to mean generally a softening and easing of the cost of capital, which is what businesses are telling us is really important right now as they pull back on their labor force.
Right. We have all these questions about tariffs. These are some highly anticipated moves here. Sandra, thank you very much for breaking it down for us. Great to see you this morning.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.